Well, I see market down. Holzum 35. We see you here. Come back to us. Family.
What up, family?
What up, family?
What up?
How about those BK special teams?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The real Brian is Brian Mason, our special teams coach, right?
Yeah.
All right, Holzum 35, what do you got? We've talked anything from transfer portal to Drew Pine to USC sucks to Notre Dame owning the ACC. What you got, man?
This portal is crazy. This is like our first experience with this.
Man, this is nuts, right? It's
I
like a
can't-
fire
I-
sale.
It's like I'm checking Twitter every 5 minutes. I can't keep up with it.
I quit. I stopped. After Drew Pine, I'm like, I threw up my hands. I said, okay, that's it. I'm done. Like, just let me know when it's over, and let's go prepare for the Gamecocks.
Just do a weekly check-in. Just do a weekly check-in. See who left. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm almost to that point. I just want to come back in a week or two and see who we got.
Well, we got Buckner probably starting the bowl game, which is interesting. So
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
yeah, me too.
I don't know if he's going to stick around though after the game though. That's
Really?
kind of interesting. I think he'll. I don't know, man. I think he also sees the writing on the wall and might jump ship too after this game
Based on what? I'm kind of curious on this.
if we get a transfer.
If big if.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, and I think if you get like someone like DJ Uiagalelei or Card or someone like that who would really be competing against him, I think that would be like,
Yeah.
oh, all right.
Yeah, it would have to be a big name for sure. But if that does happen, I think he might go too.
Well,
we'll see.
so then it goes back to the reasons why Drew Pine is transferring now. Now, we kind of talked earlier, like if Buckner is getting the reps, and this is a coaching decision as far as like we want Buckner to start, so we're going to put him with the ones. If Pine, and so Pine is transferring only because he wants playing time. So then you have to ask the question if, so say we bring DJ Uiagalelei to Notre Dame, which would be fine. Okay, I got no problem with that. Then Buckner wants to transfer. Is he transferring because he wants playing time, or does he really think he's going to play at the next level?
I think it's more that he wants to play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's already way behind. He's 3 years behind where you're supposed to be at Notre Dame, and
Yeah,
it's like
close,
you need.
yeah.
I can see him wanting to go somewhere, just get a fresh start. So I don't know. That's just my opinion, but
unlike Pine, for some reason I just see Buckner as the person who's going to stick it out till he finishes his degree and then transfer.
But I thought that about Pine too. I thought Pine was going to be. I thought Pine was like a Notre Dame gold and blue through and through guy.
Yeah,
he was gonna get that degree no matter what. But he's leaving, so
yeah.
I can't trust anything at this point.
Yeah, it's really, really strange how I'm just perplexed over. Gosh, Drew Pine's really leaving. Like, and not that like I'm sad here and I'm saying dear diary, why did this happen? No, I'm just more like, really? Like, where are you gonna go, man? Like, seriously, where are you gonna go?
UConn. He's going home to UConn.
Why would you
I'm
go to
telling you,
UConn to go
Syracuse.
just lose every fucking game you play? See, and I said that earlier.
Syracuse.
Like, would you rather Syracuse? Okay, fine, but like, would you rather? Hey, there's an opening at Boston College because
I was
Jerkovic
just going to say that. I was just going to say that.
Jerkovic just went to fucking Pitt, right? So, like, does he really think his career is gonna do better at Pitt? Like, you're not gonna pull a Dan Marino. Get the fuck out of here, right?
No, there'll be someone.
Jerkovic's
Someone
a
will sure
douche
pick
at
him
this
up.
point. It's like you just bounced around now to your third university. Grow up, man. Grow up. It's like, really? Like, who does that? Who goes to 3 universities in an attempt to play? I can't name a single quarterback.
Desperate.
Desperate. Yeah, someone who's delusional is better. But so, anyway, yeah, no, the transfer portal thing is huge, and I think it's kind of a hot topic. So, I kind of want to steer the conversation a different way, if you don't mind, Wholesome 35. So it was announced earlier in the week, I believe, or maybe it was over the weekend, that the 2024-2025 season will be the quote-unquote new format of playoffs, and we'll go from a 4-team playoff to a 12-team playoff, with the top 4 teams not only being conference champions, but being first-round byes. Do you have an opinion of the new format that was officially announced now that the Rose Bowl signed their life away?
I think 12 is too many. I would have liked to seen it go to 8.
Ditto.
But, I'm not really sure how the whole top 4 get a bye is going to play in our favor here.
Yep.
It's definitely not, because we're not joining a conference.
Hey.
So I hate to see it that if we're, like, without a doubt the number 1 team in the country and we don't get a number 1 seed, that's kind of bullshit in my opinion. But
correct. Yeah, like if we are like say in a couple years, right? You know, like Buckner's doing great, or Price is just like this Heisman Trophy running back. Whatever. Pick whatever scenario you want. In your fantasies of Notre Dame football. That's fine. You go do your thing. But let's say that's what's happening, and Notre Dame is like, clearly number 1, but because they're independent, nope, you're number 5, and you host a home game. It's like, well, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, clearly
Notre Dame would then be,
quote
unquote, being penalized just because we're not in a conference.
But this committee has shown that conference championships don't matter if you lose them.
Hey, i.e. this season, right? Like TCU could have been fucked if the committee really was like showing some SC or Alabama love. I'm dead serious about that. Like, and if you really want to get conspiracy theory about it, SC, they're the hot, new kid on the block here. Hey, you got West Coast, all that Los Angeles money, right? Hey, money talks, right? You got the Los Angeles market, and an LA team, UCLA, USC, whatever, pick your team, even Oregon. Okay, a West Coast team in the playoffs. Hey, that draws the crowd, right? Especially SC fans who are so fair weather and bandwagon as it is, right? So you could suck all those phonies in anyway. Now, fortunately, that did not happen, which is fantastic, right? And I do think the teams that deserve to be in the playoffs are in. The only question mark is maybe Alabama. But again, we talked about this earlier. They had 2 losses. Everybody above them has 1 or 0.
Well, they lost to LSU, who just got destroyed by Georgia,
and then also lost to a not a good Texas A&M team. So, and also, we'll keep twisting the knife here. LSU lost their first game of the season against Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
So
don't forget about that.
Yeah, don't forget about that. Yeah. So
they were unranked at the time.
So the playoff situation, back to the new format. So I take it you don't like the format. You would rather just have an 8-team playoff?
No, I like the format. 12 is too many. I would have liked to see it go to 8, but I like the expansion. The thing I don't like is the top 4 get a bye, and then we're kind of on the outs looking in, even though we may be a undisputed top 4 team.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I don't like about it.
So here's I'll start with a kind of a more positive, even better if scenario. I'm asked to do this at work. I work for a big company, and then you work with people, and they're like, hey, do a performance evaluation for these people, and then you have to also put some even better ifs. Okay, even better ifs for the playoff committee or the playoff format, right? This is the opinion of Fighting Irish Faithful. My thought is this: regardless, the 12 team thing I like only in the sense that it allows that someone who's ranked like 9, 10, 11, right? And I'm looking at you, Boise State of yore, or Tulane of today, right? It gives that team some Cinderella opportunity, right? And it's probably because I have a soft spot in my heart for Butler and Gonzaga, these smaller basketball schools who have done well. I went to Gonzaga University, right? 1998, go back. Okay. And now Gonzaga's awesome, so hooray. But here's my point. The 12-team thing I'm fine with. And I'm even fine with the top 4 teams getting buys. But here's where I have a problem. To assume that the top 4 teams are conference championships, I think is wrong. I think what they should do instead is do it more like what they do in the basketball tournament. Grant, there's more teams. But if you win your conference, you're an automatic bid into the playoffs 1 through 12. But if people believe, and these, again, there's a committee and the people who rank this stuff, right? And we don't know what happens in their secret meetings. But regardless of the secrecy and the whatever, just rank them as they are. Don't have this bias that you have to pick the quote-unquote 4 best conference champions to win. Let's come back to the present. Let's pretend like who in the ACC? Clemson, right? So Clemson would have been in. Utah would have been in. Okay. Then you have Georgia, okay, and Michigan, right? So those probably would have been the top 4. But let's get weird here.
But what about K-State?
Oh, okay. K-State. I'm sorry. Yeah, you nailed it right there. K-State,
well, that's
right?
my question. Is like, how are they going to rank conference champions?
Right. So here's the deal. So then it's like, well, wait a second. If they want to award conference champions automatic bids into the playoffs because you won your conference and here's an attaboy, and yes, you went through this struggle and you won this other trophy, and that's cool, and you're in. I love it. Fine, you're automatically in, just like the basketball tournament. And here's the thing: go to the basketball tournament. No one thinks that the basketball tournament is wrong. No one thinks that if you're in the Sun Belt Conference or the Ivy League or the West Coast Conference, if you win your conference, you shouldn't be in the tournament. No one thinks that. So if you go to the Power 5 and you win your conference, why would you not be in the playoffs? Sure.
Are you telling me that if Purdue were to upset Michigan in the Big Ten, they should have had a playoff spot, though?
Okay, now you're getting exactly where I wanted to go. All right, because you had Kansas State doing upset over TCU. You had Utah doing quote-unquote upset over USC. Purdue was hanging with Michigan for a little while in this game, which was shocking the hell out of me. Okay, and then, of course, Michigan won as they should have, right? And then let's get even weirder. Let's pretend Brian Kelly he figured out how to do motivational speaking. He read some, book by some Navy SEAL and yelled at people, and they were ready to go. They drank some Gatorade and pounded some Red Bull, and they were ready to go, take it to the Bulldogs. Okay, and they won. Okay, are you shitting me that in that crazy situation, because this is what the playoff committee has now created. They have created a situation where a shitty Purdue team, if they had upset Michigan, which Purdue has done in the past, let's not forget that they beat a very high-ranked Ohio State not too long ago in the regular season at Ross-Ade Stadium. For the record, Purdue is ranked 43rd right now in Saccharin. But if that had happened, then what do you do? If Purdue had beaten Michigan, Purdue's in the fucking playoffs with a fucking bye? And then they're going to get smoked by... It's ridiculous. I don't get it. So this is why I'm like, look, you win your conference. Are you in? Sure. But do you get an automatic bye? That is where I think the center does not hold. That is where I think the argument crumbles, is because you can have a team that gets hot or just plays better than the other team, wins the conference, but that doesn't mean they're quote unquote a better team based on record, strength of schedule, just overall performance throughout the season. If you look at the body of work, right, or the what's the eye test, the which I really hate, because that's just speaks BCS to me. But anyway, you nailed it right there, where you've got potential conference championship upsets that occur, and then we're going to now potentially award said team a first round bye. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, because there's another scenario where you have a conference champion winner who is not quote unquote the best, and they still have to play a game in the quote unquote first round.
I mean, historically, these conferences have been lopsided a lot lately.
Oh, sure.
So I can see that happening a lot.
I mean, North Carolina and Clemson was like the most, well, maybe the Utah SC game was like, those were like the more balanced ones. I guess the K-State game too, but yeah, I mean, Purdue, what? LSU? No.
Yeah, those are jokes.
Yeah, like last year, Michigan and Iowa. Iowa got curb stomped. They didn't even deserve to be in the fucking building. Yeah, but they won their division, so we're gonna put them in. It's like, really? They were dog shit.
If the conferences get away from these divisions and just have the two best teams play for their conference championship,
but I agree.
Then we're cooking then.
Yeah. Well, and at that point, it's probably going to have to once UCLA and USC join, the Big Ten. That's where it's going to get crazy, because now how do you do the breakdown of the actual conference divisions? Like we're opening cans of worms that are going to open more cans of worms that are opening more cans of worms, and it's all based on.
I'm thinking of like Inception, like I'm in the van and we're like falling off the bridge,
right? But it literally, you said it yourself. When does this begin? And that's literally the season that UCLA and USC go to the Big Ten.
Interesting. Dun, dun, dun.
So
it's almost like it was predetermined.
It honestly, I think a lot of that hinges on the disparity that is going to be created by the two West Coast teams joining that conference. I 100% believe that, because they're going to have to create the conference alignment different than how it is. So you're going to have people play that you haven't seen play in a while, and you're going to have, rivalries that may or may not continue to exist if the conference. I mean, yeah, you're going to have Michigan and Ohio State, but is that going to be something within the same division of their conference? They may not be. They may be on separate sides, and it just, we're hoping you both are the best of each side, so you guys play each other.
So I'm gonna say something crazy. I'm gonna have a real hot take here, and I've mentioned this before, and I keep this quietly, but now that the playoff expansion is official and it's happening, I am gonna flat out say that Notre Dame does need to join a conference. Notre Dame needs to join a conference, and if I get to choose the conference, I would say the Big Ten. And now that, and part of that is a couple reasons. Number one, like regionally, it just kind of makes sense with Purdue and Ohio State and Michigan State, right? We already kind of have a relationship with these other teams. We have trophies with two of them, right? Okay. And not that I really think rivalry trophies are be all and end all, but with USC joining the Big Ten, I think that's another incentive. Okay. Because they are our rival. And how great would that be with Notre Dame versus SC? And we're in the same conference. Okay. Furthermore, and I said this in the first podcast I ever did, where if Notre Dame joins a conference, and this was in the year of COVID, where we did join the ACC for 1 year, right? But I said at the time it should be a permanent thing. And the reason why I say that is the season is longer than it has ever been before. You have, social media, and you have all this like press, and you got transfer portal, and now NIL, and da 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 da. Like, the season is longer than it's ever been before, and you have to establish stepping stones of success for your football program. Now, if I had made more time and not just listen to fun music of what we're going to introduce the podcast to tonight, and actually done some better show prep, what I wanted to do is look at every team that has won a national championship and how many of those national champions over the last 10, 20 years, whatever, who didn't win their conference. Because let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, the last team that was independent that won the national championship was the 1989 Miami team. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing and expecting different results. Now, no, Notre Dame's independence is not necessarily a direct result of their failed success since 1988 season. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you have players now with a different mentality and a different environment than what it was back in the day. We need to enable our players and our student athletes to have stepping stones of success and winning a conference, holding a trophy against another team that's halfway decent, and saying, look, you won this, now go to the next step. Now go to the next step, win the playoff game, whatever, then go to the championship, beat the other team, and host the big, awkward, big gold trophy. Fine. Winning a conference championship is a stepping stone of success for our program. And not that I really give two shits about what other people think who are Notre Dame haters, but a lot of people hate Notre Dame because we're independent. And I know that's a lot of our identity, and I actually love that. But here's the thing. I would love for Notre Dame to win a national championship as an independent team. If you ask me what my preference is, it would be that. Remain independent and win a national championship. But if I have to pick between the two, which is usually what you have to do in life, I'd rather just win the whole damn thing. Independence be damned. I would rather win national championships and Notre Dame have the tradition of holding up trophies at the end of the year than the tradition of being independent. I don't give two shits about scheduling Navy or USC or Stanford, the teams that we always play. I really would rather let that go away if it meant that we were in a better position to win championships. Now, I'm making an assumption that conference champions have a quote-unquote better statistical likelihood of winning the trophy. But I guarantee if I go and do this research, ladies and gentlemen, that we will find that in general, if you won your conference, you probably won the title too. Or how many teams who didn't win their conference championship, who won the title, that's probably the lower end of the statistics, right? So there's probably not a statistical, significance, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, and there's probably more statistical likelihood of like having good quarterbacks or a Heisman Trophy winner, or, some of these other things, right? Or a coach that's worth a shit, not Brian Kelly, and if you take a recency bias, just if you take Nick Saban out of the way, because he's probably, muddying the waters. But my point is, look, with the new playoff format, with the conference champion being the automatic, bye the first round, that is one less elimination game that they have to play. They don't have to play that game. They get to sit back, rest their players. It's like a bye week, right? And that's one less elimination game. Because let's face it, if you're an undefeated team, you go to your conference championship. Let's back up. Let's pretend Georgia lost to LSU, God forbid. But let's pretend that happened. Would Georgia have been eliminated from the playoffs? The answer is no.
Nope.
They would not. Okay? So if that was Notre Dame in, say, the Big Ten or the ACC, whatever, okay, and we were undefeated and we lost the conference championship, would we still be in the playoffs? Yeah. We wouldn't be a first round bye, but we'd still be in the new format. Okay? So, like, to me, there's like three major scenarios. If you're in a conference, you're either conference champion, and so then you get and you're like, quote unquote, one of the best four, and you get a bye, right? And so you've played now 13 games as a school, okay? Or say you're the conference champion, but let's say your conference is a little weak, or just maybe at a one loss or two or whatever. Okay, and so you're more like Utah this season. Okay, well, you're really good, and we're going to put you in the playoffs, but we're not going to put you in the top four, behind, KSU and Michigan and, go on and on, right? So you're sitting at number 5. So then you start, and then you start kind of, in that first round, and maybe you host a home game, but you won your conference, but you weren't in the top 4. That's scenario 2. Scenario 3 is you go to the conference championship game, but you lose, and then you have to play in the first round again anyway, because, well, you were already a good team, but you weren't good enough to win, and so we can't give you a bye, right? That's the third scenario. And so you're playing 14 games, right? Notre Dame is an independent. We go 12-0, let's pretend, and let's say we're the best team in the country. Let's wave that banner. That's fine. Notre Dame's the best team in the country, or even we don't even have to be the best team in the country. We could be top 4 and undefeated. Okay? And we go 12-0, and we don't get a first round bye just because we're not in a conference. Now, I think the system is flawed. I think that automatic bids for conference champions is bullshit. So I'm with all of you people, okay? And so the system is to blame, but the system is what we're buying into. And if our fucking athletic director said, yeah, we're fine with this, no. We still have to play one more elimination game, like all these other scenarios I just described. And that's why I don't like this new format, and why under said format, which is the rule or the law of the land, right? Because we've signed our lives over to ESPN and TV contracts, okay, for the next however many years. I don't like this format, and it certainly doesn't favor Notre Dame. It certainly favors conference champions more than Notre Dame's independence, and we have to play one more elimination game. Period.
So
and
then
so
by this very argument, yes, I think geographically it makes sense, and having Michigan and SC in the Big Ten. But why then wouldn't Notre Dame go to the ACC?
Oh, I have no problem with it. If Notre Dame decides we're going to go to the ACC, I got no problem with that.
We literally just talked about how we spanked them.
Yeah,
and
88% win percentage over the last, however many years, 6 years.
In the last recent years, the rivalry we've created with Clemson is now kind of a reboot of.
Yeah, we play them next year at their house.
It's going to be a great rivalry. I see the ACC, who needs a good TV contract, trying to attract Notre Dame, and it's NBC power.
I mean, I have no issues if Notre Dame, joins the ACC. My preference would be the Big Ten, only because of regional bias. Okay, right. Because we're in the Midwest, and in general, most of the teams in the Big Ten historically have been. And then we get to play teams like Penn State and whatever. I'm not excited to play fucking Rutgers, but But Nebraska would be cool if they ever got better. They hired Matt Rule, which is really awesome, which we haven't talked about. But yeah, no, like, look, I realize my position and my opinion is not popular, especially among Notre Dame fans. But here's my thing. I am willing to put my ego and my preference aside because I want our team to win championships. Ask yourself this question, Notre Dame fans. How is Notre Dame being an independent team from the present to 2024 season to the future? How is being independent helping us win a title? I would argue in this new format, it is a hindrance. Because there is one scenario, if we win the fucking conference title, where we play one less elimination game. And you cannot argue against that. You cannot argue against that. That playing one more elimination game, now all of a sudden that makes that better just because we're independent and we're Notre Dame because we're hot shit and we want to be prideful about our independence. I don't give a shit about that. I want us to win the title. And the best opportunity to win the title is to play one less elimination game. It's like people give shit to teams that finish the basketball season high ranked because they're number one, and then if they're in like the Midwest bracket or whatever, and then they play like a bunch of scrub teams and kind of a quote unquote easy road to the Final Four, right? I've heard that argument many times, but it's true, right? But how'd you get there? Number one, you had a good record, and you probably won your conference championship. In this football scenario with this new playoff format, you win your conference. Yeah, you should have the day off. Okay, now I would prefer an 8-team playoff because I think 12 is just too many. But an 8-team playoff with maybe some automatic bids if you want to do that, but don't automatically rank them 1 through 4 and give them automatic buys. I think that's stupid because you could have like Purdue and fucking LSU or one of those two potentially in the situation if they had won, which is ludicrous. That is ludicrous.
The only argument I could see for them doing that is, okay, so it is a freak win for Purdue or for LSU. The other teams are good enough, so Georgia and Michigan would have still been in the playoff.
Sure.
They would be strong enough, yes, having to play the extra game, but they would then eventually make it to that point, and whoever does play LSU and Purdue wipes the stadium with them.
Yeah.
I think it is a way of exacting revenge on the loss in the conference championship. I see from the initial onset, but that unfortunately is kind of that Occam's razor of a conference championship. And if you're going to give it an automatic bid, being a power conference, then by designation of being a Power 5 conference, then you automatically assume the competition, the play, the record is going to have more, disparity. Then, yeah, you could say that a second or third place team in the SEC could beat up on the first place Pac-12 team. And we've seen that transpire in the playoffs so far. So I can see the dynamics of, well, these conferences generally produce a better champion. And what they're basically saying is, fine, prove it. If somebody upsets the conference championship, then yeah, give them the automatic bid and let them have the bye, because the stronger team who lost in their conference championship is going to have to play their way, and more than likely will play their way back to revenge that loss.
Well, and I'm fine with that, but my whole thing is like, I just don't like the automatic buys. Like, if you want to have automatic buys, just rank teams accordingly.
Well,
right?
And I think that's where the rub is the difference in college basketball is you're following the national ranking up until the brackets, and then you don't care because now it's where is everybody in the brackets,
Yeah.
and it's almost what division of the brackets are you in versus are you a 1 through 4? Because you could be a 2 and be in the toughest conference and you get
Like
smacked with somebody.
here's the deal. Like if we took this year's, how I'm looking at this year's college football playoff rankings, granted it's a 14 playoff, but if we took this as like a model for the next for 2 years from now, okay, you got Georgia, Clemson, Michigan, Ohio State, and Kansas State that all won their conference championships. But if I go to the rankings, right, Georgia, Michigan, that's a no-brainer. The next highest ranked conference champion is number 8 Utah, then number 9 Kansas State. Okay, which means Clemson would, or I'm sorry, Kansas State would be with the outside looking in. Clemson was number 7, Utah was number 8, Kansas State was number 9. So Kansas State, their huge win would be the outside looking in, and they would probably be ranked, 5 or 6 or whatever. Okay, so they would have like a home game against, fucking USC or something, or Penn State. Okay, but here's my thing. If you actually go ranking by how they ranked the teams, like this is the best team down to the number 25th team, is Georgia, Michigan, TCU, Ohio State, Alabama, Tennessee, right? So my point is this, like they should just do it if they want to have this first round bye thing because they want more teams in the playoffs, which I'm kind of okay with. Okay, and here's another way. If they made it even more crazy and they made it a 16-team playoff, which they shouldn't do, it should be eight teams. But guess where Tulane is? They're number 16. Okay,
Yeah.
it's like just have number 16 versus number 1, and then it's just like the basketball tournament. Like fine, like okay, like you'll get smoked by Georgia, but hey, you get your shot, right? Maybe it's more fair. I don't know, like. I
think that's what they're trying to avoid. I think they're trying to avoid the pointless games. You're playing a game to know an inevitable 99% chance that Tulane doesn't upset Georgia.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, if I look at this year's ranking, like Washington is number 12 right now, then 11 is Penn State, then SC, right? But if I go the other direction, after Washington, it's Florida State, Oregon State, then Oregon, then Tulane. LSU is number 17, which is kind of funny. Even in that hypothetical situation, they're on the outside looking in. But yeah, I mean, like I don't have a problem with the first round bye for the top 4 teams. Where I have the problem is we're like automatically crowning. We're playing a lot of emphasis on conference champions. That's literally what they're doing.
But maybe that is the crux to making sure that the 12 teams that are ranked that play the first, games, the first 4 games are competitive games because you have to win your conference championship. If you win your conference championship, you're either the clear-cut winner of your conference and your division of your conference, but you're also probably one of the highest ranked teams in the country at the time.
I agree.
So,
yeah, I'm with you.
let's say, Utah, as an example, beat SC. Utah does have the mettle to make competitive games. Having won the conference, go ahead, give them their number 4 of those ranked conference winners. Fine.
Yeah, and SC is not bad this year. Right?
SC is not bad, and SC will create a competitive game to whoever they play in that first round. So I could see where SC, who is the clear-cut Pac-12 champ, loses in the conference championship to Utah. Now, mind you, it's the only team that SC has lost to all season long. That still gives clout to Utah to be there. And vice versa. If by some miracle Purdue and LSU beat Georgia and beat Michigan, who were unbeatable through the entire season, but somehow lightning strikes and they get it, the likelihood of that happening again, you'd rather see Michigan and Georgia come off of that loss and have a competitive game against a team that has its medal and earned its way in, and now you have a good competitive game to get to the point where now those teams who lightning struck won the conference and the first round bye now have to live up to.
Yeah. I'm going through the like the current playoff situation, like or like, so if I take this year's college football playoff rankings, and then I kind of like map out like who are the best 4 conference champion winners based off these rankings. So it's Georgia number 1 clearly, then Clemson, no, then Michigan number 2, then it's Clemson number 3, then Ohio State number 4.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. Utah number 4. My apologies. Okay. Which would leave Kansas State on the outside looking in of the Power 5. So then if I take the overall aggregate rankings, because TCU is number 3 in the playoffs, right? They're going to play Michigan in the first round. Okay. You've got TCU would be number 5 in this situation. They would have a home game against University of Washington. Number 6 would be Ohio State. They would have a home game against Penn State. Number 7, Alabama would have a home game versus USC. Which would be awesome. And then Tennessee would host conference champion winning Kansas State.
And all of those games sound compelling. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
because
you'd have a lot of purple in that TCU UW game. But no, I'm with you, right? Like
K-State's going to have a game against Washington.
Well, and
that's not going to be a rollover.
Again, I have no problem with the first round buys for the top 4 teams that the committee decides. Where I struggle is where you have the crazy scenario of like a fucking Purdue and other crazy shit. Like I mentioned this to the doc and she's like, well, what if Purdue had won? I'm like, well, if they would either be number 5th or they'd be number, 3 in the playoffs potentially because
So draw it up. What happened if Purdue beat Michigan and if LSU beat Georgia? Run the brackets that way.
Well, Purdue isn't even ranked in the top 25.
All the more reason why they should get the bye for knocking off.
So
Michigan,
they'd be like number 4 probably, right? Which is crazy. And then what was the other team?
LSU.
So LSU would be ranked above them. They're 17 right now in the playoff committee. Okay, so you'd have Georgia, then.
Well, Georgia would have lost to LSU.
Oh, okay.
So Georgia's now
they're number
5.
Gosh, man,
Correct.
This is getting crazy. Yeah. All right, so this is Georgia. All right, so
Michigan lost. So
Michigan
Purdue,
loses, so they're the number 6.
6.
Yeah. Clemson. So that means Clemson is the number 1 team in the country for this system. See, that's where this is flawed. Like, if you're gonna give these, like, Clemson is not the number 1 team in the country. No way.
Well, and that's where I don't think you call it number 1 in the country. You call it number 1 ranked.
No, but that's not how the playoff committee works. The playoff committee works with you win your conference and you're automatically blessed with holy water and anointed with chrism, and you're over here and you get the week off, where everyone else is, doing bear crawls at practice, right?
Okay. That being said, go ahead and keep running it. So Clemson's the overall rank.
I mean, it's crazy. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, look, I'm running out of brain power, and we've been going for a while.
That puts K-State as the number 2, or Utah as the number 2.
Utah would be above them per this ranking. Then Kansas State would be 3rd. And then you'd have LSU and Purdue would actually be the outside looking in. So they would be. But see, here's the thing. Purdue wins their conference, beats Michigan, but they're clearly not better than Michigan. Could you have a scenario where because of a shitty loss, would they rank Purdue, who's not in the top 25 this season? Would they be number 12?
5?
No,
they would be number 5.
Is that what the playoff committee has said?
That's kind of what it seems like.
That's what it appears. Okay. Agree. And even more of a reason to join a conference. You can have a shitty record and win it and potentially like be in the top 4, or you be ranked 5 with a crappy record. That is the flaw of the current playoff system, but the system is the world in which you live in, which is another reason why just join a fucking conference, Notre Dame. Notre Dame, join a conference, and all of these worries go away. We have spent, I don't know how many minutes going through different scenarios of what could potentially happen with a Notre Dame, team that's worth a crap, holding up a conference championship trophy and competing legitimately for a national championship. Just join a conference, because this current situation allows for one scenario, which is the best scenario. The best scenario is win your conference and be one of the best 4 teams in the country. Guaranteed. And if you're in that situation, you play one less elimination game. Notre Dame needs to join a conference. I have said this before. I said this in the Navy pregame show last year. Under this situation, Notre Dame is stupid. I will repeat that. Notre Dame is stupid if they don't join a conference. Join a fucking conference in this scenario. Because if you don't join a conference, we are literally hindering our ability to win a fucking national title, and that pisses me off. I want us to win a championship. I will put my independence pride aside. I don't care about that. I care about holding up trophies and winning it all. That's all I care about on this show. That is why I started this podcast. That's why I do the statistical analysis. That's why I care. I compare Notre Dame to national champions. I care about Notre Dame enough to say, what is the conference champion doing? You know what they're doing? They're winning a fucking conference, and we're not doing that. And we will never do that if we stay independent. We will never do that. We are literally giving ourselves a 5-second penalty delay in the race here by doing this. Okay, and you know what this race is? It's a 400 fucking relay. This isn't the 2-mile relay. This is a 400-meter relay. Okay, and 5 seconds is a big fucking deal in that race. What would be interesting for 6 years from now, when we're 4 years into this playoff scenario, God forbid, Notre Dame doesn't have a championship. I'd love for us to have a national championship within that time frame, but whatever. Say we're 4 years into this new playoff format, and every single team that has won the title had that first round bye. I'm just going to do this. Fucking told you so. Told you so, Notre Dame fans. You mark this down 6 years from now, if I'm still alive and we're still doing this podcast, okay? I don't have any bad health. My life insurance people don't listen.
A little bit raised, but
and there'll be many empty bottles of Johnny Walker. But my point is this. Look, guys, I genuinely want Notre Dame to stay independent. I love that we're Notre Dame independent. That's part of our identity, okay? But that's also not why I love this university. That's not why I love this team. I think that's a unique, cool thing about Notre Dame, but it doesn't define me as a Notre Dame fan, and I don't think it defines us as a program. I think what defines us as a program is football excellence. And excellence is defined by winning fucking games that matter, which we haven't done since the fucking Cotton Bowl of January 1, 1994. Mic drop. So, look, we've been on for a while. 2 hours 23 minutes here. Notre Dame needs to join a conference, and I think that's what we're going to title this show, because it'll get a lot of. It's like clickbait here, you know. Fine, I'll sell out. That's fine. All right, Notre Dame needs to join a conference. Maybe the case, the case for Notre Dame joining a conference.
So follow me on this real quick, because I'm actually writing this out, and I'm kind of perplexed and pleasantly surprised and kind of crazy. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so assuming that the lightning strikes and Utah beat SC, K-State beat TCU, that actually happened. But say Purdue beat Michigan and LSU beat Alabama.
Man, that's chaos.
Okay, so that puts, of the top 4 conferences that get
Washington's
the bye,
out, Penn State's out.
Right, so Clemson would get the number 1, Utah number 2, K-State number 3, LSU number 4.
That's weird.
And Purdue, who's not ranked, takes number 5.
Sure. If we assume that, sure.
So then everybody else now stacks behind them.
Yep.
So you have Georgia, Michigan, TCU,
Ohio State,
Alabama, Tennessee, and USC is the last one in.
Oh my gosh.
So you have Purdue and SC against Georgia and Tennessee.
Okay.
You have Alabama against Michigan and TCU against Ohio State. That's your first round.
That's crazy. Which is weird because TCU and Ohio State is number 3 and 4 in the current playoff format. But under the scenario you just described about a Purdue win and all of that, man, that's nuts. That's the flaw. That is the flaw of the current format. The current format is fucked. It's stupid.
But every single one of those games is now compelling.
Well, sure, but I would argue that the current format is compelling too. You know, under a situation, if you just said that Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and Ohio State are the automatic 4 bids, okay, and then you had Alabama playing Washington, right? Well, not so much, you know, because I think Washington would get smoked, but then you have Tennessee versus Penn State. That's kind of interesting. Clemson versus USC, right? That's cool. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
But that makes Purdue, who beat Michigan to knock Michigan out of the bye.
Yep.
As the conference champion, now they have to re-earn their medal against SC, who just lost to Utah.
Purdue gets smoked.
Right?
I mean,
so then,
and they did get smoked by
winners,
Michigan, as they should have, but yeah.
So let's run this. Assuming SC beats Purdue, okay? Tennessee or Georgia, you think Georgia wins?
Oh, sure. Yeah, Georgia's hands down the best team.
Bama and Michigan.
Man, I don't know. Michigan's really good this year, and I hate saying that because I hate that school, but Michigan's really good. I think that Michigan TCU game is going to be really good. I do think that TCU has to bring their A game though. I don't know. I don't want Michigan. I want Michigan to lose every game they ever play, but man.
Exactly. But assuming SC's the lowest ranked, they get Clemson. Georgia would be the highest ranked. They'd get LSU. Right?
There's a rematch. Yep.
So Clemson and USC, Georgia and LSU. Your winner of the Michigan-Bama game, depending who wins, is either K-State or Utah. So if Michigan wins, then they get K-State. If Bama wins, they get Utah.
Yeah.
And then from there, it falls in the winner of the TCU Ohio State game gets the remainder of the two.
Man.
So that ends up being a huge, huge deal because then the winner of the LSU Georgia game plays the winner of the Clemson USC game.
Ooh, man. So let me ask you this question, Red Snapper. Do you think that conference champions? I'm asking you to pick a side here because everyone's heard my opinion about this whole fucking scenario. Do you think that the current format that's proposed about conference champions are automatic buys, do you think that's good or do you think that's stupid? I'm asking you to pick.
I think for Notre Dame to be an independent is an absolute asinine thing given how this playoff scenario weighs out.
Correct. Now,
they
what I would argue is
they either need to join the ACC or the Big Ten or create another conference.
Ooh, that's a wild card here.
I'm going to throw that out there. I think there's enough teams that have enough clout that with SC and UCLA coming to the Big Ten, I think you're going to see not these massive, like trying to draw Oklahoma to the SEC, which is not a done deal. You could easily get Florida State and Miami and a couple other big name teams that are on the rise to leave their current conferences or join a new conference with Notre Dame. And that's something that nobody has talked about, is maybe the fact that we haven't joined a conference is because maybe we're trying to create our own. We have enough power ourselves to draw it.
That's an interesting point, because
then
Notre Dame does have a lot of clout.
So you bring in Stanford. You bring in Stanford. You bring in Boise State. You bring in Colorado.
I could see Colorado.
You bring in Miami. You bring in Florida State. You bring in. You can have.
Let's bring Boston College in. Just why not, right?
Right? Just because we love to hate them.
Well, and let's bring in Liberty, right? And BYU, because I've compared Liberty. Liberty is like the non-denominational Christian independent, just as BYU is the LDS version, and Notre Dame is like the Catholic version.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like they all kind of
Stanford would be the atheist.
I don't know if Stanford is the atheist. Stanford's kind of like
the agnostic.
Stanford is like the Ivy League reject. But it's like we're Stanford and we know we're hot shit, and the Ivy League is like, yeah, you guys are pretty smart over there too. You know what I mean? Like. And
they're
it's
the surfer version of the Ivy League.
Do they surf there in Palo Alto? There's no water near there.
Hey,
there's a bunch of mountains.
Still West Coast.
I agree, but that's like saying that University of Washington's West Coast. There's a fucking Puget Sound in them, but you know what I mean. Like, but no, I like where you're going with this. Yeah, Notre Dame. Fuck all you other conferences. We'll just start our own. Like, how great would that be? Like BYU has their own TV network, right? I see it on my cable. I don't get it, but at least I don't think I do. BYU's had their own network. Notre Dame could have their own network. Why not? Hey, there you go. And then Mass would be on there. Oh, and reminder, everybody, Thursday is the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, a holy day of obligation, so get your ass to Mass. I don't give a shit if you're not Catholic. Go to Mass, okay? And if you are Catholic, you know what you got to do. But yeah, no, Notre Dame with they could show Mass on Sunday on the network, right? And then have other cool shit about the university, and then all the sports, and hey, the Notre Dame network. I'm down with that. Notre Dame's big enough; they could do that.
They have enough clout.
Sure, they do. Yeah.
So I think that's why we haven't joined a conference to this point.
Because we're going to just form our own?
I think we're gonna
What?
create our own.
Okay, what? I heard about this. You remember when the Big East used to be really big in basketball?
Yep.
Okay, and then there was like all these, and it was weird. There was a lot of like Catholic basketball universities, right? And so
Yep.
then it's like, what if like Notre Dame started this like Catholic basketball conference, right? And then like you bring in like Butler and Boston College and Georgetown, Notre Dame, right? You got all these like big Catholic university basketball schools, like
St. John's.
St. John's, right? Exactly, right. And then it's like, well, what if Notre Dame and like Gonzaga and just like keep it going, like wouldn't that be great? Now Gonzaga doesn't have a football team, it's cool, but nah, man, like I think Red Snapper's onto something here. That's a wild card here. We're gonna
The Conference of Independence.
the Independence, which we'll just call it the Independent Conference, just to confuse everybody, right? It'll be us, UConn, BYU, Liberty, and who's the fifth one? Was it? Is it Army? I think Army is independent still technically. So Navy kind of fucked themselves when they joined the AAC, but yeah.
But I think that's a ploy that we really haven't thought about, and maybe without question, 100% agree. Your breakdown on why it's important to be in a conference, especially going forward with this new playoff format, 100%. And
well, some dick on Twitter is gonna just be like, "Oh, we don't do that," and just be like, "No, you're afraid of a challenge. That's why."
My whole point to the exercise of running the devil's advocate scenario that Purdue and LSU won and got in is every single one of those games is compelling. But it also is another way of bringing back, just like you nailed it right on the head, is the power of being in a power conference, without question.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, again, I go back to this thing where it's like, if we don't join a conference under how they have defined how this new format is going to exist and function, we are always never going to do better than number 5. And we will have to still play an elimination game. Don't give me this consolation fucking prize. Oh, well, it's going to be a home game against, the number 12 team in the country. I don't give a shit. Washington right now, the number 12 team in the country, is 10-2. Okay?
And in my doomsday scenario, that number 12 team is USC.
Yes, under the doomsday scenario that you laid out, where you laid out, the crazy LSU beats, Georgia and who else did you have? Purdue fucking beating Michigan, right? That is potentially a situation that technically could happen under this new format, which is why the new format is flawed, and that automatic conference bids is stupid to buys. Okay? You want to have a buy. Look, give the weight of a conference championship to an automatic bid among the 12 teams, but not among the top 4. No, the top 4 are reserved for the top 4 best teams. That's why you have a fucking committee that decides all this shit, okay? Otherwise, just go to the computers, go to the Sagarin, and they'll just punch in the numbers and the data, and it'll spit it out. Sounds like this podcast, just minus the scotch. So, pretty much. All right, we got one last person who's jumped on. MJV84. You've been invited to speak. I would like some feedback. And this is kind of more of a quality control thing. As you are now a customer of the SE store. Did it arrive okay? Is the logo centered properly on the apparel? MJV84, unless you just want to listen because it's really late and you're just like, whatever, that's cool too. But
she's putting Max to bed right now.
Max better be asleep. Wait, you're around Chicago, so it's 11. It's not quite midnight, like it is here in Indiana. But yeah. So that's the benefit for you, Red Snapper. You're like, what are you talking about? It's not even 9:30 yet. Right?
Exactly.
Out there on the West Coast here. NJV84, I see you on mute here. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Pink button, lower left-hand corner. Welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful show. I think you're gonna shut us down tonight. I think you have to shut us down tonight.
I think so too, but I'm just letting you know that he's obsessed with this sweatshirt. It fit him perfectly, and we love it. And thank you so much. It got here so fast.
Nailed it.
I'm so glad to hear that. That's I don't know. Do I have a review system on the Etsy store? Gosh, it's been so long since I've updated that thing. No, I'm serious. No, because I did it at the beginning of the season when I got the new logo that was university compliant. I'll just put it that way. You know, if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, the old logo, which I'm actually wearing tonight, the old logo got shut down, but the new logo, you know, does not violate copyright or whatever with the football helmet and the microphone. NJV84, I really appreciate that feedback. Glad Max likes the sweatshirt, and it arrived well. So that is the customer service we get on this podcast. It's it's what we do here. All right, we've talked long enough. This is probably bordering on our longest show. What do you think, Red Snapper? Fighting Irish Faithful After Dark was a good show.
Oh, absolutely. But this I think definitely gets to some core things, but the bigger picture of, especially with the formal announcement of the playoff, the scenario, the breakdown, what we will have to exist in. I think this is a very adamant show to listen to.
Well, and at the same time, it's like I've been very reluctant to come out and basically give my true opinion about Notre Dame, and that, look, I think we need to join a conference. And I've always reserved that under the current playoff format or the BCS format, right? Because like it was basically like, look, if you're undefeated, you're in. But under this new format, you could be undefeated and not have a bye. And that's bullshit. Yep. That is fucking bullshit. And I hate that. And I think does a disservice to our record. And look, if that is the world we now live in, which is corrupt and bullshit, but hey, is life fair? Ladies and gentlemen, you all know the answer to that. It is not.
Hell no.
Hell no. Okay. Look, under the situation, just join a fucking conference. Win the fucking conference. We laid out this was done by design. We laid out that we fucking own the ACC. We own them. Okay? 86% win percentage ever since 2014. And if you take out the shitty Brian Kelly coaching years, we're 100%, right? Thank you, Marcus Freeman.
Yep.
We are looking good. Okay? Don't be afraid to join a conference like we're giving in. Like, no, like, look, you guys are pretending we're like, you know, like committing sin and like going against Catholic dogma here when you're talking about, Notre Dame can't join a conference. Fuck that. Like, who gives a shit? Like, really? Next you're going to say like, well, we can't have Nike gear. Like, no, I actually do think we should have Nike gear because it seems every team that wins a fucking title is wearing Nike gear. So yeah, if any opportunity is giving us the opportunity to win a title, then yeah, I'm going to grab it by the horns and I'm not going to let it go. So dump the ass sweat Under Armour, which is a fucking embarrassment. Okay. Have Nike gear, join a conference, and even put names on the back of the jerseys. We'll just lay it all out there, okay? We already got turf and a Jumbotron. We're fine, right? Like, just take 2 more steps and we're there, right? So,
MJV, what do you want to say? You got your hand up.
Uh-oh, here it comes.
Sorry to interrupt the end of your podcast, but I just had a question about who are the higher to be's then in regards to joining a conference? What would that take? Like, what does that entail? That's totally out of my wheelhouse, and I don't know. If somebody could explain it to me quickly.
Unfortunately, I do not have the answer. I assume it's Notre Dame, Jack Swarbrick, and the athletic department that makes that decision. Clearly, Notre Dame's, and I think the way Notre Dame describes this is their quote-unquote Olympic sports, which is actually accurate. Anything between baseball, softball, soccer, track and field, lacrosse, whatever. Their Olympic sports are ACC, and football is the independent piece. So if Notre Dame wants, like, look, if Swarbrick called up the ACC office, wherever the hell that is, and said, hey, what does it take for us to join you guys? I guarantee you, like, they would not just send a fruit basket. It would be, like, filled with caviar and, like, Maine lobster tails. Like, no shit, right? If Notre Dame called up the Big Ten tomorrow after listening to this podcast and realized, Fighting Irish Faithful podcast has got a good point here. Let's just join the Big Ten. I don't know who they call there. I guarantee you the Big Ten would figure it out. It really would, because we've moved long beyond the days of Michigan and fielding Yost and, Catholic prejudice and whatever you want to call it that's preventing Notre Dame from joining the Big Ten, right, from back in the day, because that is a thing. Go look at your history. But back to your question, MJV84, I really don't know who really has the final say. I really think it's more of a university thing. And I kind of wonder, and maybe this is a, Catholicism thing, which isn't really a bad thing, but it's like, well, tradition is kind of going on and doing its thing. And so we're Notre Dame and we're used to tradition. And so therefore we're going to remain independent. But it's like, look, our biggest rival is about to join the Big Ten. Our other most, if you polled, let's step back, poll Notre Dame fans. What teams do you hate, or who is your rival other than USC? I'll say Michigan. I won't speak for other people, but I know other people who are big Notre Dame fans, and they hate Michigan. Okay?
Absolutely.
And why do we hate Michigan?
Throwing up 100%.
Why do we hate Michigan? Because we have a losing. If you go back historically and look at Notre Dame versus Michigan, we have a losing record. It ain't good, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? It ain't good. Okay? Notre Dame versus Michigan has not been in our favor. They're a big program. Big programs should play big programs. I would love to play Michigan every year. I would love to play, USC every year in the Big Ten. Having Penn State, we should play Ohio State more. They are the team of the Midwest of the last 15 years who's been worth a crap, and we only play them in Fiesta Bowls apparently and always lose. Whatever. So Notre Dame administration, I assume it is Jack Swarbrick and the athletic department
it would go to the university. Ultimately, it would fall on the university provost, because then the athletics for football would have to also pay into whatever conference that they align themselves with. So the university does have some skin in the game as to which and the proceeds, and that goes along with TV contracts and all the other stuff that gets muddied in with the waters money-wise. Right. But Notre Dame is never going to be an outlier. If Notre Dame said, we'd like to join a conference, we're taking interviews, and every conference decided to interview Notre Dame, it would be the other way around. It would be the other way around. It wouldn't be Notre Dame.
Let's put something out on in Indeed. Just like
looking for a conference to join.
Help wanted. Looking for conference.
Notre Dame would not struggle to find a conference if it made it very well known.
Like the Big 12 would invite Notre Dame well open armed.
The SEC would too.
So would the SEC. I agree. I think the SEC would as well. everyone's like, oh, the SEC hates Notre Dame. I don't think so. I think the SEC actually has their head screwed on right. And that's
They
something
want
we haven't
national
talked about.
coverage. They're going to get national coverage.
Sure, okay, fine. So LSU or Auburn has to play, in South Bend in November. Okay, right. Suck it up, right? You guys buy some jackets and whatever.
Hey, it'll just be a business trip. Okay.
Well, no, that's if you're LSU, right? I will say this, and that's something we haven't talked about, and we should probably wrap things up. We're approaching 2 hours and 50 minutes here. This is definitely going to be our longest podcast ever.
Yes.
We win. We have not talked about that it is actually more financially savvy for Notre Dame to join a conference. I didn't mention this because I don't give two shits, and also because Notre Dame has more money than God already. So, they don't need more money from TV contracts.
Which is why the possibility of us forming our own and being the godfather, if you will, of said conference.
Yeah, that's fine. But my point is, if we join the Big Ten or the ACC or whatever, okay, we would get more money potentially than the NBC deal we have now.
Agreed.
Right? We get over $100 million. I don't think we get that right now with the NBC rule. And if anyone, knows this actual numbers because they're much more savvy with the article reading than I am, that's fine. But from what I've read, fucking IU is making more money in their football program or as an athletic department, however you want to describe it. IU is making more money than Notre Dame as a football program. On what planet is that acceptable? It's not. No one gives a shit about IU except people in this house. Okay? Seriously.
Clearly the doc is not at arm's length.
Well, what's really funny is Notre Dame will be playing IU a home and home in a few years, and my son will be like 6 or 7 at the time when that happens. Who knows? I'd have to go back and do that math, but the doc said to me that might be his first Notre Dame game, and I had that moment as a dad, but it's just the doc speaks some truth here, and Notre Dame not joining a conference is actually a financial disincentive if we want to pay homage to the mighty dollar here. And it's look, Notre Dame doesn't really need more money. That's not really the problem. What they need is alcohol in the stadium and standing encouraged sections in the stadium, but that's a whole other topic which we've already talked about in the previous show.
That's fandom at its best.
It really is. All right. I think we've gone long enough on this. Notre Dame joined a conference. Hot take.
No. The hot take is they're creating their own conference.
The hot take is... Well, that'll be like an Easter egg that people have to get to 2 hours and 30 minutes into this 2 hour and 50 minute podcast at this point to get to that point. So,
do you know what? I will never let you live it down if it actually happens, because I will say I'm the one who called it.
That's fine. All the credit goes to you, brother.
We do know Notre Dame listens to this podcast.
They do listen to
at least the
podcast.
football program. At least the football program
or
does.
their legal marketing department. They're like, oh, some asshole started making shirts. Oh, let's go shut it down on Etsy because only his fucking family members actually bought shit. No one else bought some. That's not you, MG84. You're actually probably one of the few people who actually bought an actual logoed shirt that wasn't, Jay bought some stuff. He bought a mug here. And Jay's still... Okay, look. We've kind of gone away from some of our traditions. We've done a little Brian Kelly bashing. Jay, you are the toast of the tonight. Dude, you have stayed on the entire time listening to these awesome. Two a-holes. One person getting drunk on Johnny Walker and Red Snapper who's just ready to get the night started because it's 9 o'clock in LA, so...
Exactly. I'm listening to Disneyland fireworks right now outside my balcony.
Shut the fuck up, man. Just oh, I live near Disneyland.
I can see fireworks every weekend night.
I hate you so much. I love you. Did you get a pass yet, or do you still have your Knott's Berry Farm pass?
Still have my Knott's pass, but
That's
yeah,
fine.
definitely looking
You're
at it.
saving a lot more money by doing that.
Hey, it doesn't mean it's not going to be under the Christmas tree from Santa. So
that ain't my gift to you. You're getting nothing that good. You know what's going on over here. It says like, yeah, that's oh, that's funny. Oh man. All right. Thank you everyone for joining us. This is the Fighting Irish Faithful Show.
Always a great time.
It is a good time. And look, we've got like over 3 weeks leading up to the game against South Carolina. No, I can't play 2 songs at the same time in the mixer. They're on the same channel. And that's kind of inappropriate. But anyway, yeah, we've laid a lot out there. You know, it kind of feels like a bye week. Justin Roush, why the fuck are you showing up now? Too late, man. Dude, what the hell? Thank you for joining us. Dude, you are 2 hours and 45 fucking minutes late, dude.
I just gave him the invitation, so let's see if he jumps on.
What the? No, we're playing the alma mater. Dude, I got to go to work in the morning. Unlike you, who's got to, you want to have your own podcast, you do your own thing. Justin Roush, really great to see you. Thank you for supporting this podcast and jumping on. We're kind of shutting things down. This is the Fighting Irish Faithful Show. Justin Roush, dude, 1 minute, go.
I really don't have much, man. I just got the.
What do you mean you don't have much? We have so many things to talk about.
I know. I'll listen to it, but I was working. My 5-year-old had a meltdown.
Should Notre Dame join a conference? That's what we spent the last hour basically talking about.
My thought is it really depends on the whole NBC contract. Are they going to allow us to? Are we sharing that money? I think that's one of the things they're going to look at. But that buy is a big deal. So
yes, it is.
I've always been against it, and now it's like,
now it makes sense, doesn't it?
Maybe, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Listen to this show, and yeah, the devil's advocate scenario that we play out, it without question smacks you in the face. Notre Dame's going to have to join a conference.
Red Snappers wild card scenario smacks you in the face.
Well, I'm gonna listen and I'll tweet at you guys. But I'm sorry I'm so late. I was surprised you guys were still on. But
yeah, hey, apology accepted, but that's fine.
let's win this bowl game, and I look forward to the off season podcast and whatnot. I've had a great time this year with you guys. So
off season? What are you talking about? It's bowl game season, man. I do not know if we're gonna do a show next week. Probably should. We can talk more about this stuff.
We'll figure it out.
We can break down South Carolina. I'll do my real deep dive thing. Hey, maybe we'll get some crazy, transfer quarterback, scenario, or Buckner's kicking ass and taking names in practice.
ND Prime apparently has got a
ND Prime's got an inside scoop. I've heard some stuff as well. Hey,
he was holding it close to his chest, so we'll see.
Yeah,
but for real quick, man, I do want to thank you for doing this podcast. I really enjoy it. So
I love it.
Thank you very much, Justin.
So if you love it so much, go buy some fucking gear. All right, put your money where your mouth is. All right.
All right.
Follow by example with MJV84. And just in case he didn't jump on tonight, I was going to offer him his commission tonight.
Right.
In all seriousness, I will probably have the opportunity for Gator Bowl tickets. If anyone does want to go see our Irish take on the Gamecocks in Jacksonville, do not hesitate. Reach out to me. I'll hook you up. All right. So come to me. Gator Bowl tickets. It's coming.
Watch Wookie signs on right now.
That's fine. That's fine. Nah, he said I texted him earlier. He said he wasn't feeling good. But whatever. Hope he's feeling better. There's like flu going around the whole fucking country right now. And like I was sick during the week of
Yeah, it's wicked. It's wicked.
dude, like the hospital was like no visitors near us. I'm like, what the hell are you guys
Dude,
talking about?
I am popping vitamin C like M&Ms right now.
Yeah, take some Activate from Melaleuca, man. All right.
Oh, on it.
You better. No, are you?
Yeah.
All right, whatever. All right, let's get out of here. Go Irish, beat Gamecocks, join a conference. See ya.